Everyone. Oh, tonight is being recorded, just as an FYI. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Families Together 2024. I'm honored to be your host for this magical evening. My name is Mary Cline-Stively. I'm the CEO at ChildStrive. Interfaith Family Shelter and ChildStrive have been strong community partners for over a decade. I have personally had the opportunity to work with many of the staff at Interfaith through the years, and I'm always in awe of the powerful work that they do. Our community is stronger because of the work that Interfaith does to support families by creating stable environments, overcoming homelessness, and doing such in new and innovative ways. On behalf of Interfaith, I would like to welcome everyone, all of you joining online from across the county, the state, and the country. The Marysville United Methodist Church, give a shout out to them. They're all together tonight, hosted by Dunn and Debbie Whitfield, Joanne Moffett, and Frank Bucci. And the Edmonds Unitarian Universalist Congregation, shout out to them. They are hosted tonight by Greg Long, Pam Iverson, and Grant and Nancy Gladow. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here with us. I'm going to take a drink. So I'm recovering from COVID, so my voice gets a little scratchy at times. So just please bear with me and be patient. The Interfaith Family Shelter is committed to honoring the ancestral land of our Coast Salish peoples and acknowledging the structural inequities of historical oppression and communities. I'd like to introduce Rachel Watson, Business Administrator at Interfaith, for our Land and People Acknowledgement.
Thank you. We come from many places, and we want to acknowledge that we are doing this work on the ancestral homelands and traditional territories most often taken from the Indigenous people who have been here since time immemorial. To understand that, we must recognize this and continue to build our solidarity and kinship with Native peoples. The work of the Interfaith Family Shelter is on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, in particular the Tulalip, Snohomish, Stillaguamish, and Saxawatl tribes. We also acknowledge that the wealth of this country was built on the free enslaved labor of Black people and the history of systemic inequitable treatment of Black people and many other racial groups in our country. While the movement for justice and liberation is ever present, this legacy persists today as we continue to work towards racial justice, equality, and dismantling the barriers and inequalities built into the systems in which we exist. These brief acknowledgements are an important practice for social justice and equality that promote visibility and serve as reminders. Please take a moment to honor the land, life, and labor of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in our community.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, I think Edmonds, there we go. Edmonds has now joined us. They can now hear us, so that's great. Now I would like to invite Pastor Meredith Gunnar Rains from the Marysville United Methodist Church, who is one of our faith partners, to offer the invocation.
Hello, thank you. It's so nice to be with you tonight, and we're so happy to support Interfaith. So I'll ask us all to join our hearts and our spirits in whatever attitude of prayer speaks to you. Holy and loving one, as we gather in this season of harvest, reflection, and celebration, we are grateful for the way your Spirit has moved among us this year, connecting us, inspiring us, moving us forward. We remember that you are the source of all life and all love. You are the ground of our being. You are the space maker. You make room for us. We ask for your guidance and your grace tonight. So many feel they do not belong. So many are left without a place. Empower us to be like you and make room for others. Help us remember that every time we are able to welcome someone home, we are doing what you do. We are humbled by your spirit of love and welcome. Make that same spirit be in us. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Gunnar Rhines. As many of you know, Lindsay Gagnon, Interface Executive Director, could not be here this evening as she and her family have recently welcomed a baby girl. But she wanted to be here, so she made us a video prior to going out on leave, and that we're going to share next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Gagnon and your new Executive Director for Interfaith Family Shelter, and I'm so excited to be here tonight. I'm joined by my son, Anderson, and we're just so proud and grateful that you all could join us. As I hope you can tell, I'm not able to join you live this evening because I'm due to have a baby girl at any time, and hopefully by this evening, she'll be here. But rest assured, I am celebrating with you all and celebrating this amazing organization, its staff, its volunteers, and most of all, the amazing families we get to serve every day. In my short time as executive director, I have seen the impact that our staff and programs have had on these families and continue to have on the families that we serve. Our staff work hard to ensure that by the moment they walk through our doors, they are cared for and provided the best place possible for the hard times that they're going through. In my short time as executive director here at Interfaith, I've seen the impact we've been able to make on families and continue to make on families that we've served. Our staff work hard to ensure that families that walk through our doors are provided a safe and caring place that they can call their temporary home. We seek to be a loving and caring home for these families, to get them the support that they deserve, and work towards a place that they can eventually call their home. Our agency provides approximately 40% of the total family shelter units in Snohomish County. So our work is far from over. As cost of living continue to rise, as home prices and rental prices continue to rise, we know that it's harder than ever for families and their children to find a safe, stable place to live, and we won't stop until we do so. So tonight, I'm excited that you'll hear from one of our most dedicated and valuable advocates and supporters, Councilmember Dunn. She'll get to talk to you about the challenges that children in homelessness face and in shelters face, and how we as Interfaith staff and programs help to combat those struggles. No child should have to sleep outside or in a car or in a place not meant to rest their head at night. But it's happening. And when folks come into our shelters, we seek to, again, combat those struggles as best as we can through their physical and mental needs, to their educational levels being addressed, to their social and emotional abilities. We do so much through our children's program that I'm really excited for you to learn more about. You'll get some insight into our wonderful children's program, and you will see how one of our former clients and their families are thriving. So I'm so grateful for all the fantastic support that we receive from all of you and those that have given to our annual fund campaign, including those that have seized the opportunity to donate to our exciting donor match program this year. You are all so valuable. Finally, I also want to thank the many funders, the grant makers, organizations, partners, volunteers, and all of you who help make our program so successful. It truly takes a village, as they always say, and we are so grateful for this village. So thank you all, and I hope you get to enjoy this evening.
Wow, that was great to hear from Lindsay. We're going to make the transition now to our keynote speaker that Lindsay gave kind of a highlight to. But before we do that, I first want to share the format. So after Megan has made her address, there'll be time for questions. So please add your questions to the chat so that they can be addressed after the presentation. Cynthia Jones will be collecting the questions, so please get them into the chat early and often. We are honored to welcome Megan Dunn, the Snohomish County Council member serving District 2 as our keynote tonight. Council 2 includes Mukilteo, Everett, and Tulalip. Councilmember Dunn has spent more than 2 decades working to improve the lives for working families and building healthy communities through thoughtful policy change. Megan is a longtime supporter and advocate for Interfaith Family Shelter. Welcome, Councilmember Megan Dunn.
Thank you, Mary. Well, thank you so much for the honor and the opportunity to speak to you tonight. As Mary mentioned, my name is Megan Dunn. I serve on the Snohomish County Council. I represent District 2, which is Everett, Mukilteo, and Tulalip. And I'm here tonight because Interfaith is such an important organization in our community, and I'm grateful to be in a place that I can support your work, your vision, and your mission. We have countless families, generations of families that have been impacted by the good work that you guys have done and continue to do to house some of our most vulnerable in our communities. In the richest country in the world, it's heartbreaking that any child would experience homelessness. But thanks to the work that you guys put in by Interfaith, we can break that cycle. So I'd like to share some thoughts tonight about intergenerational poverty and why I support the critical work of Interfaith and their success in breaking the cycles of poverty through housing. As an elected official, I ran for county council in 2019 and I won re-election last year. I'm honored to serve my community in this capacity. I have a home. I have an education. I've gotten my master's degree and a bachelor's degree and went to college. I have a family, but I did not get to this point all on my own. I'm here today because of efforts like Interfaith that helped my family and particularly my grandfather's family. So my grandfather, his name was Robert Cottingham. We called him Grandpa Cott. He grew up in poverty in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was one of 8 children. There were 4 boys and 4 girls. His mother stayed home and his dad was a carpenter and a paper hanger, which means he hung wallpaper. They said he could make a seam sing, which means he did it really well. But when my grandfather was around 10, his family became homeless. They were Catholic and the church allowed them to sleep in their basement. They lived in the church basement for several months until money became more stable. And that church shared the same vision as Interfaith, uniting in service to families with children experiencing homelessness. For Interfaith, children comprise about 60% of all the individuals in their programs. In any given year, they serve between 180 to 210 children collectively at their program sites. Any one of those nearly 200 children could have been like my grandpa Cott. My grandfather worked various jobs and he only went to school through middle school. When the war came, he signed up and he served in the Signal Corps. And then he served in World War II and he retired as a lieutenant colonel. He used the GI Bill to continue his education, and then he worked in the VA offices for decades as an employment specialist. And he would help injured vets find jobs. He even helped a blind vet become a beekeeper. And my mom always told stories about getting fresh honey that even included the honeycomb and sometimes a bee inside of the jar. Because of these opportunities, housing, the GI Bill, and opportunities in education, VA employment, my grandfather was able to share a duplex with his brother and then later buy his own house and started a family. And he and my grandmother, they had 3 girls and my mother was the oldest. So his story is similar to the residents with Interface, and it was access to affordable housing, which allowed him to become successful. Interfaith has an incredible success rate with 70% of the client families securing permanent housing upon exiting their programs and 90% still having housing 1 year later. Because sometimes it's just that hand up that's needed. So stable and affordable housing allowed my grandfather to become successful. And then his children, my mother, attended and graduated high school. And then my mom started a family and they moved to Kentucky and they had 3 girls. I'm the youngest. And my older sister attended and graduated high school. And my middle sister and I were able to go to college, paid for with a home equity loan because my parents were able to afford and buy a house. That generosity and access to opportunity is why I'm so driven to support housing for all and to support groups like Interfaith. All clients fall within the extremely low area income or the AMI, area medium income range, and are literally homeless, which is a HUD definition, when entering their programs. People who enter their programs step into a warm and welcoming environment with wraparound acceptance for who they are, no matter what path they were on that led them to Interfaith's front door. I'm proud to support this organization in their programs to offer emergency shelter, basic human needs services, case management, homelessness prevention, and other resources to help families overcome homelessness and achieve permanent housing. It's notable that the opportunities that allowed my family to succeed and break the cycle of poverty were not available back then to people of color. Or to put it in active voice, our government denied GI Bill resources to Black vets and people of color and women of color, or women. In the city I grew up in, Kentucky, the neighborhood had covenants that did not allow you to sell your house to people of color, and these racist restrictions have denied Black and brown families from accessing generational wealth that comes with being able to own your own home. But at Interfaith, all programs are low barrier and non-discriminatory. And importantly, they also recognize all families, any combination where there's a legal relationship between an adult and a child. Embracing diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging means that we acknowledge our past mistakes and we move forward in a way that recognizes and includes everyone. They're committed to keeping families together. They operate one of only 3 shelters in Snohomish County that accepts single dads and families with teenage sons, which is meeting a critical need in our community. It was critical that my grandpa's family could stay together as a family. We only have 67 units for a county of over 800,000 people that allow families to stay together. We rely on our faith community and nonprofits to fill this void, but thankfully we now have a sustainable source of funding, and we are seeing those dollars getting allocated and used finally with around $23 million a year using the 1/10 of 1% sales tax. With new housing being built in the coming 5 years to house at least 500 people who have been experiencing homelessness out of around a low estimate of 1,500 in our county, excuse me. So while these local dollars are critical, having a provider like Interfaith is essential to keep everyone in our community housed. And my family story is not unique. We all have a place in our lineage of where we've experienced poverty or needed a hand up or a hand out in this room and online, and that's what drives us to give back. The interfaith vision that no child sleeps unhoused in Snohomish County tonight is so critical, and together we can create that vision and ensure continued success. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And I didn't know there would be a quiz. I don't know if questions are for me, but I'll hand it back over to Mary.
Questions are for you, Megan. Cynthia, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions in the chat. But first, you mentioned the sales tax. I think it's 1/10 of 1%, and I think you said it raised $23 million. Would you talk just a little, remind us about that sales tax?
Sure. Yes. So that was based on House Bill 1590 at the state level. And we passed that as a councilmatic vote 2 years ago. And then the sales tax has been collected for the last year and a half. I saw MJ on the line here too. So special thanks to all of our human services staff and everyone at the county who's been working on this. But we collected those dollars. The 23 million was an estimate. Sales tax did come in a little lower in the last part of this year. But we did secure enough funds to fund several projects, I think 5 different projects in the county that are both transitional housing, emergency housing, and then long-term supportive housing. So the goal was to get around 500 people in the first 5 years into units, and that's been a huge success. So that was a councilmatic action that added that sales tax across the county, and a number of counties across the state also implemented that sales tax. So it's important local dollars that were not available before, and they should be transformational because we haven't seen that amount of funding come to the county and have those local dollars ever before.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that and reminding me about that. Our next question. After all of your experience on the county council, what's one thing that you wish more citizens in our region knew and understood about homelessness?
I think there's just some misinformation about who is homeless and how they become homeless. So for me, I think there's just a misinformation that people are have substance use disorder, or they're on drugs, or there's crime related. And in fact, people who are experiencing homelessness are more likely to be victims of crime. We do see some mental health and substance use disorder, but that's not the majority of homeless people. It's usually economic or domestic violence that is affecting people's lives. And then for children, you know, for us to have any homeless kids sleeping outside at night is just a failure of our society and our government. We don't have a strong enough safety net. So through no fault of their own, you know, we shouldn't have to have kids sleeping outside at night. So that whole just the myth of who is homeless and why they become homeless, I think is what important for us to learn more about.
And then I have one more question, and I think it's really related to what you just said. In our region, are the number of homeless families growing or shrinking, and why?
Well, if MJ is on here, I might have to pull her in for an
Oh, good.
expert call, phone a friend, but we are seeing better numbers in our point in time count. So the point in time is a census that's taken every year at a certain time, at a certain day in January, I believe. It's a great thing to volunteer for, but we're taking a census and interviewing every person that we meet outside. And it's showing that our numbers are going down for some groups, but up in others. We did see a slight decrease in this last year, which is fantastic, but that's following a very high increase after COVID. So we are seeing lower numbers in some cases, but it's still a big concern for our community to have so many unhoused people. The last estimate was around 1,500, and that's probably a low number. But that's where we try to count everyone who's you know, living outside or in shelter or in transition or couch surfing, things like that.
Great.
But
Thank
the
you
point in
so
time
much.
has the best information.
Okay, yes. Thank you so much, Megan. I really appreciated the trajectory of your family and hearing about the difference that those interventions can make generations later. That's very inspiring. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, Megan, for that. That was very informative. And that generational change that Megan talked about is why I do my work, right? I believe that the only way to make a better community is if we start with the young kids. And when we start with the young kids, we can make that generational change.
I honestly cannot do this.
All right. So we are going to move on.
Oh my Lord.
Sounds like maybe one of the groups needs to put their mute on. Okay. So as Megan eloquently talked about, interfaith, about 60% of the people that are served by interfaith are kids. That's 18 and under. And the program has had many expansions over the years, and we currently serve about 200 kids every year. The children's program is overseen by Lynn Barishkoff, Interfaith Family and Child and Family Advocate. The work of the children's program is so important for so many reasons. One, they get to help parents get their kids registered and set up for school, as well as other programs that families may need to support their kids. There's a learning hour that provides after-school support to help children keep up on their academic work, so a little homework support. And the program provides some stability and structure for kids. So things like activities, field trips, arts and crafts, other opportunities where kids get to remember for a moment that they're kids and get to play. The children's program also utilizes many volunteers and have several that have been lifelong, long-term supporters of the program. And what I love about this is it creates an opportunity for multi-generational relationships, which is an opportunity of connection for everyone. So we are proud to honor the children's program as this year's program spotlight. Let's watch the video.
I'm Lindsay Gagnon, and I'm the new Executive Director for Interfaith Family Shelter. Our children's program is an exciting way that we can help focus on the children while they're in our 90-day shelters and really make sure that we can stabilize them in many different areas of services, from their mental and physical needs to their social and emotional needs, to just making sure that they have a place where they can stabilize in terms of their schooling and really get the support they need to get up to speed if they're behind, which many children that are experiencing homelessness are behind. And so we really need to do all that we can to make sure they're given the same opportunity as other children that are housed at succeeding in life. Our staff truly care about making sure that families have a safe and comfortable and warm place to rest their head at night. So many families are going through the worst time of their lives, whether the families are just falling on hard times and that led to their loss of housing, to families that are new to the area, that are immigrants, that don't know how to navigate this way of life, to families that are going through intergenerational poverty and are just never given the skills to really live stably. And so our staff really understand that. They understand how to work with families to really get them to the level that they need to stay in their house and to maintain that housing. And so that's why I think Interfaith is so impactful and our success rates have been so great, is because our staff truly understand the needs of what families and their kids are experiencing to better help them.
My name is Lynn Barashkoff. I'm the Child Family Advocate at the Interfaith Family Shelter. The children's program is being supportive in many ways to all the families living at our shelters. A large part of the program is to meet the needs of the children's school goals. Are they registered for school? Do they have transportation? How can I help support? I am always a cheerleader for school, and I try to promote the love of learning. The children's program is important because we interact with the children every single day, whether we are doing homework, working outside in the garden, weeding and planting bulbs, doing art projects, playing games. We are all together and we are making strong connections. I've worked at Interfaith Family Shelter for 3 years, and during those 3 years I have countless number of times had my cup filled to the brim with pure joy. One of the key components of working here at the shelter, not just for me but for all the staff, is to make sure that our residents know they are seen, they are heard, and they are valued. Volunteers are a key component of the children's program. I want to specifically thank all the volunteers who support Interfaith Family Shelter.
I'm Maggie, and this is my daughter Serenity. I learned it from a family member, because they were trying to help me find a place to stay because their place was full and I needed a place to stay. It has been amazing. My daughter loves it. You can tell she goes to school and comes back to class. Before she went to school, I needed help registering her, so Miss Lynn, she gave me paper application for school and I filled it out, came back and she looked over it, and then we walked over to Garfield Elementary, and it was a nice walk. And we went and talked to the school office manager and the staff members, and they were so nice, and I love that school. She loves it. I appreciate how they keep my daughter happy and have fun. She's always looking forward to it every day. Yes, I believe it is important because it gives children something to do every day and to look forward to and have fun. My future plans, I I always say that it's in God's hands. I hope for her to prosper and always have something positive to talk about, and yeah.
I like drawing and playing Legos and Marbles, and I love reading books. Miss Lynn always helps me.
Thank you so much for giving us opportunities, and we are so thankful and grateful, and we love you guys.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and I am part of a team that partners with Interfaith and the Marysville United Methodist Church. We had a small house on our church property, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that we decided was better served to support interfaith for families that needed the transition into stable housing. We decided to call this Miracle House and hoping to offer a miracle to families. I've been part of this team that supports families as they move in to provide bedding. We provide homework or activity support to families, just listen when needed. We look after the home, the basic needs of if new silverware is needed, if there are basic repairs that need to be done, and help to provide the playground equipment that's in the backyard play space. Through this partnership, I have learned and believe more strongly in how important and essential stable housing is for families. I have learned that this foundation allows for employment possibilities, for kids in schools to have support there, for family relationships to develop. All of this can happen when there is stable housing. I am so impressed with the mission and the work of Interfaith that I am grateful to be able to fill in the gaps. It is good to know that families can come in and have clean sheets and a fresh pillow to lay their head on. Building the relationships with the family and hoping that the extra help that we can give can help provide some stability so they can work on the hard work of securing the housing that they need. The hard part is letting go, but it is wonderful to see the smile on their face and the hope in their voice when they tell me that they have the keys. So I say a prayer and hope that their next step is successful for them. There was a young mom that came in pregnant with twins and a young daughter, and I was showing her the home, acknowledging that Miracle House is not a new building. She looked at me and said, "We have been living in the cold in our car. I did not know if we would survive for another night. This is good." And then there was the teen girl who showed me her school schedule, and we did some math problems, and I noticed she had choir on her schedule, so I asked if she would sing me a song. After a bit she did, and she did it beautifully. And I said, "Well, let's sing for your dad." She hesitated but said okay, so we sang. She sang, not me. She sang the beautiful song, and through tears he said, "I have never heard her sing before." But the stability that Miracle House offered the family allowed him to be calm, to see his daughter and hear her voice. As a volunteer and as a local community member for many years, and having been involved in the school system, I'm able to help families negotiate and navigate the school system, and we can help them understand where parks are and activities and other things that they may need to know about the community. It is especially helpful knowing the school system and helping with forms, all the paperwork that's necessary, and the other things that go along with getting students enrolled in the schools.
Wow, that's pretty powerful work that Interfaith is doing in our community. So impressed. So as we move to acknowledging that none of this work would be possible without a lot of support, I'm wondering if we're ready for the PowerPoint slide to be up. I want to thank all of our partners and in the community as well as our amazing leadership, volunteers, and staff. So our program sponsors are Coastal Community Bank and Madrona Financial and CPAs. Interfaith is supported by many grants through organizations like the City of Everett, Snohomish County, Whitehorse Foundation, Northwest Children's Foundation, Howarth Trust Fund, and the Stillaguamish Tribe. I want to thank all of our donors and supporters, especially those of you who have given toward the ongoing annual fund campaign and the donor match challenge. Next, I want to acknowledge the board of directors. So if you are on the board when I say your name, whether you're in your group or just on the screen, just wave your hand so people can acknowledge you. Excuse me. Greg Long, Don Whitfield, Frank Buccio, Jesse Deason, Betty Fisher, Naomi Ketch, Brant Godow, Deanne Boucher, Nikki Graham, and Pasha Grant. Thank you all for your leadership and support of this great organization. Okay, next I get to thank our event planners and the committee. So again, I want you to raise your hand or wave to us when I call your name, our online hosts, Tom Crisp and David Jones. Thank you for your work today. Our tech support, interface staffers, Rachel Watson and Alexa Bottler. Thank you both for all of your work and getting us to where we need to be. Watch party hosts, Don and Debbie and Frank and Joanne in Marysville. Thank you for putting everyone together. And Greg and Pam and Grant and Nancy in Edmonds. Thank you for gathering everyone together. Videos were created by Brandon McGow and Luxon Video Production. And lastly, I want to acknowledge the staffer who do all of this amazing work that we've been hearing about tonight on a daily basis. So wave your hand, acknowledge yourself. If you're in person, jump up and down, I don't know, do something fun. Ann Williams, Jackie Rasco, Sabree Taylor, Sue Nichols, Dan Blidhard, Lynn Broshkoff, Louis Teheri on, I'm going to apologize for that one, Barkey Shabatz, Alex Bottler, Rachel Watson, Heather Liao, Shannon McLean, Zoe, Neha, Lindsay Gagnon, and Mary Grace Anthony. Thank you for all you do, for your dedication, and for making a difference in the lives of kids and families in our community. All right. Next, we're going to honor our Volunteer of the Year. Congratulations to Kathleen Premerton, who is attending the Marysville Watch Party. Give a shout out to Kathleen. Staff will be there to present with her a small certificate. Kathy has been a volunteer at Interfaith for about 6 years. She is a retired teacher from the Marysville School District. She often supports the learning hour at the family shelter and frequently comes a few hours early to work on the shelter garden beds. She has organized a pillow drive at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Everett and has also worked with them to provide crib quilts for infants. Thank you, Kathy, for all you do for the families at Interfaith. We are so grateful to have you in our community. So a big shout out, big round of applause for Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. Every year we feature a story of a former client of Interfaith Family Shelter. This year we bring you the story of Echo, a mom of 6 children who stayed at the shelter last year. Please join me in watching this video.
is Echo Pilar Gomez Morales, and I am originally from Mexico City. I am way south of Mexico City. There's a town called Santo Reyes de Pejillo, and my language that I speak at home, it's called Mixteco, and I speak Spanish and also English. I came to the USA maybe about 25 years ago, and I've been here for a long time, and it's thanks to my mother. I came here, I grew up here, I went to school, I have kids, and I have a total of 6 kids. So I have a big family. I have an older son, which he's amazing. I have a younger son, and then I have my daughter, and I have 2 more little boys, and I have my baby. So she's 1 year old. It's amazing growing up here and showing them how wonderful it is to be here. It's a very nice country to be in. So I am very, very blessed to be here. So I was expecting my baby. I was very, very worried because I did not have a home. We were living at a place for almost 9 years, but we had problems with that house that we were living at, so we totally lost our home. So we didn't know what to do, so we end up in people's houses. We end up in people helping us with getting vouchers for hotels, and I was calling even in advance 2 months before moving out of that house, because I was just really worried of where I was going to take my kids. And being pregnant, it was a very stressed thing for me because I was the only one that knows how to call and talk to people, make phone calls. My husband doesn't speak English, so it was really hard, just me, like doing all the calls and everything. But we finally got through. Received a call, a voicemail. It was from a person that I was really excited, and her name is Alexis from Interfaith. She's the one that called in, and I was like, yeah, we might get a place. And I called, and she made me an appointment, and I was so happy because it was April 17th when we did receive a place, a home, and this is Interfaith Family Shelter that received us with their arms open. And I was very, very blessed because I was like, I'm gonna have a place where I'm gonna have my baby and where we're gonna get to sleep, take showers, and have food to eat. So Interfaith did an amazing job to help me and my family when we didn't have a home to live in. I really do thank Lynn. I really thank Alexis, Zoe, and also Sabri. She's the one that does housing rehab, and she is the one that helped us find a home to live. And I know it's not something that you guys like to do. It's something that you guys love to do. And the time that I was at Interfaith, I could see people's face, the way that they felt helping us. I was able to have a home where I had actually gave birth to my baby, and will go home to a house that I can rest in, and that my baby can have a roof. All of my kids have a roof. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have a place to sleep, a place to have hot meals, a place to call home. So I really thank all of you guys for doing this, and I really do encourage you guys to don't stop doing this. And because being homeless, it's not an easy thing to go through. Being homeless, it's not only people that are only a single parent or a young man or a young lady. Homeless also impacts kids, babies, parents, and also impacts people that don't have a way to get a job. So it's really hard thank you so much for donating everything that you guys do. I think every little thing counts. Thank you so much.
Wow, what a testament to the great work that this organization does and how our community is better because they are here to uplift people and uplift those kids so that they can be more successful. So we are here starting around the corner here to the end of our evening. But before we get to that, I want to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about why we're really here tonight. Are we able to put the slide up, the next slide up? Great, thank you. So this is why we're here tonight. We're here to share our support for the essential work that Interfaith does in our community. Interfaith Family Shelter does powerful work in our community, as we've heard tonight, to help families overcome homelessness, get permanent housing, and most importantly, stay housed. Interfaith's annual fund campaign is running now through December 31st, and we need to raise $140,000. We have currently raised about $90,000. This goal is totally attainable if we all do our part. This is where it takes a village, and we're part of that village. Every gift, no matter the amount, is valuable. We encourage you to give now and support this important work. There's many ways you can give. You can go online using the link that I think is getting dropped into the chat. You can scan the QR code up on the screen. You can drop off a check with your venue host. You can fill out the donation card in your packet. Lots of different options. We have really exciting news for you tonight in that the recent Donor Match Challenge, which ended on October 15th, is very close to meeting its target. So for this evening only, we are reviving the Donor Match Challenge. So if you really want to make your donation go further, be sure to donate tonight, because any gifts donated that come in tonight will be matched in this with this matching challenge. Help us meet the match challenge and make your gift now. And here's a little something to sweeten the deal, literally. We really appreciate you being a piece of the solution. To sweeten the deal, longtime Interfaith supporters, Jonalyn Wolf Ivory and Jean Crisp will give each of the top 6 donors home-baked pie. If you're in the local area, they'll even deliver it to your door. Jonalyn is the retired director of the Snow Isle Library System, and her pie of the month was the most sought after auction item at the Libraries Foundation annual fundraiser. You can taste one for yourself by making a very generous donation tonight. Be one of those top 6 donors and get your pie delivered to you. So as we take a few moments to make our donations, offer that support to Interfaith Family Shelter, and reflect on all we've learned tonight from the impact that the organization is making to those of our most vulnerable community members, the impact that homelessness has on generations to come, and it has on child development. We can really dig deep and support this organization and families that receive their services. I want to thank you for attending tonight and being part of Families Together in 2024. We couldn't do any of this amazing work without you and your support. Thank you for supporting the Interfaith Family Shelter. We're grateful to have you part of our community, part of our village. Please feel free to stay on and socialize with your group. The online guests can choose to join the breakout room again that we started out with this evening. For those of you who are meeting together in Marysville and Edmonds, continue to interact. Don't forget to complete your donation. And thank you and have a great night.